practically an open door between the United States and Cuba. Within 6 months, immigrants were virtually guaranteed a visa to enter the Golden Medina, the Golden Land, as the United States was called in Yiddish. In the meantime, there was plenty of work in Cuba. The republic was barely more than 20 years old, and the country's fifth president, Gerardo Machado, a man elected by a landslide who would later usurp power and be portrayed on the cover of Time magazine as Cuba's dictator, was in the middle of a robust public works project to complete the country's Trans-Island Railroad and another to begin construction on a highway crossing the 750-mile length of the island. There was work for stevedores along the docks and for masons in the construction of buildings like the grand headquarters of Bacardi Rum, the Hotel Nacional de Cuba, and a new Capitol building that would bear an uncanny resemblance to the one in Washington. My grandfather Samuel quickly fell in love with his new hometown. His favorite parts were the dance halls and backroom gambling parlors, where you could play cards and bet on the numbers game. And of course, the city's many bars where he habitually overindulged. In 1928, Havana had about 7,000 bars. They were in nightclubs, hotels, restaurants, even corner bodegas and cigar shops. This proliferation was in large part due to prohibition in the United States. No longer allowed to legally drink at home, Americans were flocking south to watering holes in Havana. Many American barkeeps moved their operations there as well. Being a bustling port and tourist town, Havana was also known for its burlesque theaters, red light district, and easily available women along the docks. My grandfather Samuel patronized those as well, even after marriage. Then his wife died, giving birth to his first child. My mother has no memory of what happened next. She thinks her father left her in the care of her maternal grandmother, Shaya Fellman, a woman who became paralyzed from the shock of losing her younger daughter. A few years later, my mother was back in Samuel's care, living in a room they rented from a couple who had come from the Galician region of Spain. When Samuel went to work, he left my mother in the care of their landlords, who owned a laundry downstairs. My mother lights up at the memory of those days. Los Gallegos taught me to iron with one of those big hot presses that I had to push down with all my weight. I used a flat iron also, that you had to heat on a stove and pick up with a towel. At the end of the day, Samuel would come home from the docks with a bag of oysters in hand. He had a special knife to open them, my mother recalls. I would eat the whole bag. This happy portrait of a green-eyed, olive-skinned, dark-haired 4-year-old who eats oysters with her father and enjoys pressing shirts, beginning always with the collar, then moving down to the area around the buttons, then the buttonholes, didn't last. Samuel came down with gout. Unable to walk, he couldn't work or pay the rent. My mother was sent back to her grandmother, who was living with her other daughter's family. My mother helped bathe and dress her paralyzed grandmother. Her aunt gave her a bed and food, but nothing else. I used to collect bottles on the street and turn them in at the bodega, 10 centavos for 5 bottles so I could buy myself a sweet from the peddler who came down the street. My aunt didn't like me because she thought my grandmother loved me more than her own children. She took my mother's clothes, jewelry, and silverware, which were locked in a trunk, and gave them to my cousins. Eventually, my mother's aunt called her father and said, "Hilda can't live here anymore. She's a bother." That is how my mother ended up living in an orphanage, where she became adept at cleaning marble. I, too, am an expert cleaner of marble. I am an art conservator, specializing in sculpture, decorative objects, and historic architectural materials. To me, it seems a strange luxury to use marble for an orphanage's dining tables. Marble implies wealth and elegance. It's the material of ambitious architecture, like the Parthenon in Greece, the Taj Mahal in India, and the Washington Monument. An archaeologist I know who works on Roman sites in Israel says that marble columns sound different, richer, when you scrape them with your trowel. The first Roman emperor, Augustus Caesar, famously declared his imprint on civilization with the words, "I found Rome a city of bricks and left one of marble." Marble is a metamorphic stone.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.